I think the first thing I should say is I'm a little bit of an unusual patient because I came to primal therapy twice. So I learned what I could from the therapy, got what I could at the level therapy was in the 70s, and then I went away and felt on my own. Then I came back 30 years later and needed more help. And I don't think I would have needed the help if I had not, unfortunately, been in a relationship with someone who who was very crazy. We can cut this stuff out. I don't know if you even want it in here, but it's a big part of my life. So sure. I'm just going to say
yes,
all of
course.
this. Because he was so insane, I lived in a repeat of my childhood. And no matter how much I tried to feel, and I felt all the time, I went home to the same sort of insanity that I lived with as a child. And I didn't understand that it wasn't going to change, that he wasn't also going to get better, and that it wasn't going to improve. And finally, I just gave up, couldn't deal with it anymore, knew there was more to life than the chaos I was living, and I came back to therapy. And since then, the therapy is more advanced. I quickly realized that I was living in an impossible situation, which I was now out of, and my therapy went really well. I was an unwanted child, and therefore, just by existing, I made my parents furious. I made them feel bad by just walking in the room, by wanting anything, by needing anything. They both were angry. And that is how I lived in the world. Without realizing it, I believed that every person I got near, I made feel bad. So then I would be very afraid, and I would feel bad. But all I was conscious of was that I was afraid and I felt bad. I was not conscious of that I felt like I was making everybody feel bad. That was a lot more hidden. I just knew I felt bad. I felt bad all the time. I was terrified all the time. I didn't expect anyone to like me. And I wore myself out trying to be someone that someone would want or like having around. One of the reasons I put up with was because of that. Because he could at times make me feel like he cared about me. And I had so little of that the tiny bit that he gave me felt amazing. It's all I ever had. It's all I ever had. It was a nightmare, but it was all that I'd ever been given. I started out when I came to therapy, going to group 3 times a week, and sometimes having 2 sessions. And now I feel maybe twice a month, and it's plenty. And if I have to miss my session because we work on a Saturday, then it's not a disaster, and I don't fall apart, and I don't start feeling terrible. I notice that feelings will come up more. I will start having a hard time. I will get worried at work that someone's mad at me, but I recognize it right away as a feeling. And what the new thing, and it's only happened in the last year, is when I do recognize, for the last couple of years, I recognize something as a feeling, but it wouldn't make any difference. I go, that's a feeling, but I would still feel bad. Now I go, that's a feeling. You can deal with that with David. It's not going on now. And it goes
with
away.
Your therapist, you mean?
Yes. Yes, and it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
It really, truly goes away. Maybe not right away, but I go, oh, that's just not real. You're doing fine. I know that I need to deal with something if I start getting this pressure that turns to pain, that turns to like a really sharp pain at times, and it's right there. And I've luckily felt it enough as a first line feeling that, I clearly know what it is now, and when it happens, I go, whoops, you're in a feeling.
First line
Yeah,
birth feeling.
first line birth feeling. But it doesn't go everywhere.
Right.
I don't feel panic anymore. I don't feel terrified anymore. I can do things now that I couldn't do before. I didn't understand that everybody didn't feel like I did. I used to think people were so impressive because look at all the things they do. And I thought everybody felt as awful as I did. And I couldn't do anything. So now it's, okay, I've got to do my taxes, or I've got to clean up my apartment. All of these things were completely overwhelming before. And now I just do it. You just, okay, this is a little difficult. Well, it's not going to kill me. Well, that's what it felt like. Something really, really terrible was going to happen to me. Something that was going to get so bad that I wasn't going to be able to stand it. And on the first line, it's that specific incident that didn't last very long. And then after I was born, it was the endless screaming at me, hitting me, hating that I existed, hating that I was alive. So as a child, as a baby, of course, there was no control over me wanting something, which I have felt lots of times. And the feeling is that she's standing in the other room with her arms crossed, just wanting me to go away. Or that she actually walks out of, we lived in a little trailer, that she walks out of there and leaves. So that's when I'm crying. As older, and not very much older, I didn't ask for anything. I have a very few incidents in my life where I can remember asking my mother for something, which of course I was told no. And then I learned, and sometimes I just say we because my brother and sister all learned the same thing. You never ask for anything. Sometimes you just sort of sit there and hold your breath and hope that they might think to give you something you want. And I also learned too, because we used to make lists for Christmas and I wouldn't get anything on the list. And I've one incident that has come up over and over again because it's like a slap in the face. I said I want any of the dolls on this page, it was a Sears catalog, except this one. It's the one I didn't like the way it looked. That's the one they gave me. They had no consciousness that I had any feelings. I was like a cardboard cutout thing in their house that they didn't want to bother them. And they were, on the surface, from the outside, they looked really good. And they took us to church, and they took us to school, and they took us to 4-H, and they did all the things that parents are supposed to do, and it was completely the surface.